Welcome to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show for purpose-driven, passion-fueled spiritual entrepreneurs ready to live their purpose, passion and prosperity as they create the life and business of their dreams whilst transforming the world, doing what they love and making fabulous money. Each week we bring you inspiring and empowering topics, popular thought leaders to empower you to transform all areas of your life and business. With your host, spiritual intuitive, entrepreneur, transformational business coach and mentor, Kimberley Lovell.
Hi sweethearts, it's Kimberley Lovell here, your host for the Wealthy Business Goddess Show, and I am super excited today to introduce you to a wonderful lady, Jennifer Urezio, and Jennifer's from the US. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jennifer. She is founder of Soul Language and a master intuitive who uses her intuitive skills to help raise consciousness. So Soul Language is a paradigm to put tangibility to soul, and Jennifer is the author of 2 books available on Amazon: Soul Language, Consciously Connecting to Your Soul for Success, and a little book of prayers. So Jennifer, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor, and I'm so excited myself, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So where should we start? Do you want to tell perhaps the listeners a little bit about your background? Because I know you've got a wealth of background and experience. So just give us a little bit about, where you've come from, your journey, and then let's dive into the soul language. I'm super excited for this.
Well, thank you. I started out as a photographer and realized that when I got out of school, I really liked to eat. So I went into marketing and PR, and I spent 17 years in marketing and PR. We were the firm, like, public relations people would call to get themselves on national TV, their clients, when they couldn't. And I was really angry in that existence. And, I had a bit of a renegade style, and nobody likes to be told the truth in corporate America. And so, I was like, okay, I was asking myself, I can feel that there's something bigger inside of me. Like, I'm ready, like, bring it. And we had a client meeting with this internationally known couple who were coaches, and they brought this woman who did something called hand analysis. And I went, I don't know what that is, but I know I need to have it. And so she told me my life purpose, which is powerful healer and teacher of service in the spotlight. And I went, that's groovy. What do I do with that? And where are my people? Because I'm really mad. And I started asking big questions. And she asked me to speak at a conference that she was holding. And I sat down next to this person and she went, we're going to be friends. I went, yeah. But why her, inside voice, and not someone across the way who looks really nice? But I really don't care if I ever see that person again. And what I heard was, that's soul language. And I was like, okay. So I kept asking questions, and before long, I had a structure to put tangibility to soul. And that's not to put anybody in a box. Soul language is a living, breathing paradigm. It changes in consciousness always. But it's to put words to what people know deep down inside so they can create a conscious connection. So they can alleviate their suffering through that connection. So they can help redefine their relationship with whatever they call their higher power, and know and create from a place of wholeness and completeness.
Beautiful. I love that. I think it's so important for us to be able to connect with our soul and to, align with our purpose, our business, our success, and to be able to get our gifts out in the world. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation for sure. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what soul language is, how it works, and why it's so important for us to be able to create the wealth and success that we want as spiritual entrepreneurs?
Yeah, what soul language does is it puts words to what you deeply know inside. And when humans are weird, we like words to describe things. And so when you have those words, a lot of clarity happens. And it also allows you to create a conscious connection with your soul. So you can have and tap into that real wisdom and that real guidance. So each one of us has 3 core energies of soul. We call those languages. You have one language in 3 different categories: your mission, how you feel that mission, and then your soulful personality, how your soul prefers to go through life. And what's really groovy about soul language is that we can identify a business soul as well. People call in a business to do something bigger first for themselves and then for others. And I think most, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, forget that factor. And so when they can connect to their business soul, that energy has a wealth of information also to pass on. So you're again getting clear guidance, and you're again understanding how you're utilizing your personal soul energy or the business soul energy consciously or unconsciously. And then what's really groovy, based on your soul languages, I can give a one-liner to every soul on this planet and every business soul. And that becomes your matrix. That becomes your mile marker of consciousness. So my one-liner for my personal soul is I create balance for myself and others. Again, myself first, through love, integrity, and courage. And if I'm not being that every day, I'm going to struggle. And because, most spiritual and soulful entrepreneurs do their own work, they can get really sneaky with themselves. And that's why soul language is so powerful, because it gives you kind of a tunnel to Mecca to create a conscious connection with your soul.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about how that works in practical terms, when you were talking about your kind of like one-liner, and how does that play out in terms of your vision and your mission?
Yeah, that's a really important question. How that plays out is, so often we think what our mission or purpose is, and so often people concentrate on their mission and purpose through delivery systems. So guess what, guys? You're not here to be a coach. You're not here to be an author. Those are all delivery systems. Your mission and purpose is much bigger than that. And it allows you to understand how you're being that mission and purpose for yourself, and then how to offer that for others. So I'll give you a perfect example. My mission language is called Equalizer. It's all about creating that perfect formula balance, first for myself and then for others. When I go into a restaurant, if there was no one in the restaurant, it's going to get perfectly in balance with abundance. It's so funny to watch, like how many people come in after I've come in, right? What I was noticing when I first started, creating this entrepreneurial life, my other soul language is called Graceful Warrior. That's that soulful personality, which means I could do more in 15 minutes than most people can all day, right? Those are direct conflicts. So I would be sitting at my desk hysterically crying at 10:30 at night. And then I suddenly realized that I wasn't utilizing this huge part of me. That actually is why people come to me, because they feel comfortable, because they can trust me, because they recognize in my voice something that makes them feel calm and in balance. So it really understands how you're utilizing all of your gifts and talents of your soul for yourself. And it allows you to bring that into everything you do. And so often, especially with, really powerful women, they're always wanting to be of service first. And they forget that really, to create this abundant life, you have to include yourself in part of the service agreement. And having that connection with your soul via your soul languages reminds you of that. And it also allows you to go, okay, so I'm experiencing this challenge. How I'm being unconscious in that use of my soul. How do I move from unconscious to consciousness? And so those are just a couple things that you can kind of utilize on a tangible way, right? I'm very tangible because I'm a warrior. So if you don't use it in your everyday life, I don't want any part of it.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that's so important, because we've got torrential rain here.
That time I heard it.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we've had beautiful sunshine as well for a few weeks, so we don't mind the rain. So as you were talking about that need to be able to fill up from our own well first, I think that's really important. I know lots of women that I work with, very often, as you say, spiritual entrepreneurs, we givers, and we tend to often put other people first and ourselves last. So I know that's been a part of my journey in terms of making sure, looking at things like self-care.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not only that, but I would venture to guess, like my clients, your clients, are big change agents. They have a big message. They want to transform the world in a bigger way.
Yeah.
So I always talk about stop looking at your business as a business. Most of my people are creating movements, right? And to create a movement, you have to actually receive more than you give. And when you tell that to an overgiver, they twitch, like, what? Yeah. But there's a lot of cogs in that wheel that needs to make that movement last over 100 years, And so if you're kind of don't have any good boundaries in place, if you're utilizing your soul unconsciously, if, for example, an axiom of translation, which is how you'll be known here, there's one called the nurturer, right? Nurturers traditionally unconsciously have a hard time charging for their nurturing. That's huge if you're a nurturer and you're creating a business based on nurturing. So how do we get around that? How do we tune in and remember that we're whole and complete and come from that? And so that becomes a really lovely conversation with your personal soul. And, imagine that if you had a personal soul as a nurturer and then you had a business energy as a nurturer, that's a lot of nurturing energy, right? So that really, you need to utilize that consciously. And once people really understand their soul languages, they understand, which is really incredible, they understand how really profound the work is and how everything is energy in a deeper way. And they start taking things a lot less personally. My fun example is my mom. Her mission language is a negotiator. So top line, she negotiates everything, right? Consciously or unconsciously. And I used to really take offense to that. Like, oh my God, why is she like... And then I just realized oh, she's just being her. And that now it's a whole deeper relationship because I don't take offense to it. I don't think of that as she's not hearing me or I'm not good enough. I just go, oh, she's just doing her thing.
Beautiful. I love that. And it's so interesting, isn't it? We all have our kind of own quirks and personalities and characters. And so, yeah, it's really important. I'm loving actually what you're saying about the nurturers, because a lot of nurturers in my community, I do a lot of work with archetypes. And one of the things that I help people to do and do with people is to help them to channel their archetype. So it sounds like there's quite a lot of alignment in terms of what you're talking about here. So, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, there is. The difference between archetypes and soul language, and what happens with soul language is there'll be archetypes because the universe has been providing this information, and now here's another layer of it. The thing with soul language is the paradigm is always changing, meaning those definitions are always growing deeper. And as so what happens is energetic trends. So a couple years ago, mentor, which is a mission language, and I'm using it because people go, oh, I know what a mentor does, right? I know what it means, right? All these mentors were coming to me and going, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. And by the fifth one, I'm like, listen, you want to take a sabbatical? You're exhausted. And she's like, oh my God, are you in my head? I'm like, no, I can see the energetic trend. And what happens is then that mentoring energy becomes more conscious. And so everyone who speaks that mentoring energy can actually get on board with that consciousness if they want to or they choose to. And that's fascinating to me because you get a bunch of nurturers together and they start really profoundly nurturing themselves and then receiving from their nurturer. By the 10,000 monkeys, so to speak, right? They're already taking on that energy in a good way rather than having to go through the painful experiences.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So tell us, how can people find out what their soul language is or what their mission is?
I love that. So the way we determine it, and I say we because now I teach other practitioners to use soul language in their sacred work, is through the therapeutic kinesiology or muscle testing. It's done all energetically. I haven't seen or met half of the people, even more than half of the people that I've worked with. And it's a one-time testing connection between that practitioner's body and that person's soul. And then the soul moves the body down a testing sheet. And every time, the same response is, oh my God, are you in my head? Oh my God, like you just put words to what I know. And I love when we identify someone and they start to laugh or they start to go, oh my God, or, because it resonates so deeply. So their soul just moves our body. And that's how we determine the soul language. And we do discovery sessions or we do full sessions. A discovery session is our gift to somebody where one language is identified so people can understand how to use the paradigm.
Cool, I love that. So, and the body doesn't lie, doesn't it? So muscle testing is a fab way to really be clear on what's going on. I love that.
Yeah, you know, and it's so funny because I've been muscle testing for over 10 years, right? And sometimes when I'm falling asleep, I'll ask a question and my body will twitch and I'll be like, no, I really wasn't asking. Like, I was just having a question in my head. So it becomes this really, you know, it takes the mind out of the game. And I like ego because without ego, we wouldn't get off our couch. It's actually utilizing ego to, or I would say, have the mind follow the heart.
Yeah, we have a saying that your amigo is your ego is your amigo.
I love that. I'm going to footnote you.
It's not always the case, but yeah, that's the kind of like strategy. Make your ego your amigo, because otherwise you're kind of at conflict, right?
And any, you know, conflict within your system is going to move you out of the consciousness of love, which means that you feel separate, that you're not whole and complete, which means you're creating from some form of lack. And the goal is, you know, my kind of mission is to alleviate suffering through connection. That's all I'm doing, you know, and I think a lot of us are doing the same thing, reminding people that they're whole and complete.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting that people do get bogged down in terms of the marketing of their business and what their vision is and their mission, and think that they're selling, let's say, coaching or even healing. And whereas you can have a bunch of healers, but they all have different vision and mission.
And even somebody, you know, there's, you know, when I first started this work about 10 years ago, I didn't run into somebody that spoke the same 3 languages probably until like the 7th year.
Wow.
Right? So even when someone does speak the same 3 soul languages, their experience that they bring to it is much different. Right? And so it's really about, you know, we live in an abundant universe. So it's really about tapping into kind of your bus ticket for that abundant universe so you can receive and be of service in a way that resonates with you, mind, body, and spirit. And I think why people get so bogged down in their vision and their message and all of that is simply because they have attachment to it.
Yeah.
You know, I think healers don't want to let, in my verbiage, God down. And I'm like, you can't let God down. Like, you want to have a conversation with God because he's going to laugh about that, right? He grew up Catholic, right? So it's, you know, it's understanding really how whole and complete you are and, you know, how you want to experience that. And any challenge in your life is it's just showing you that you're separate. Fear is an opportunity to choose differently.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so just a quick check my notes. Let's talk about the key to wealth.
Well, I believe it's 2 things. One, I believe it's being in the consciousness of love for yourself, and I believe it's forgiveness. I think that a lot of non-wealth or non-abundance comes from heartbreak. Heartbreak with yourself, heartbreak with the divine, heartbreak around money.
Yeah.
And so, you know, whenever I'm feeling that kind of push-pull with wealth, abundance, and everyone also has to define what they mean by wealth and abundance. I think that's the first step, because often, and make sure it's your definition and you don't hear your parents in your head, right? Because how can you kind of understand if you're being successful if you don't have a really definition that resonates with mind, body, and spirit, right? And so I think that when I'm in that push-pull of, you know, I don't feel wealthy, and to me that runs the gamut. It just doesn't include money. You know, it's being heard, it's being seen, you know, it's being successful, it's having results for me, very action-oriented. You know, I always go, okay, where am I out of the consciousness of love? So just so everyone knows, there's no such thing as conditional or non-conditional love. You're in the consciousness of love or you're in some other consciousness. It's that simple. And you can step back into the consciousness of love anytime you want by utilizing your body. So do you want to try something with me?
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to say the words, everyone. You guys kind of get on the bus, even if I use words you don't understand. So you're just going to take a deep breath. You can close your eyes if it resonates with you. And then here goes. Divine intelligence, activate within my body the consciousness of love. And I'd love to hear what you experienced if you want to share.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was kind of like a relaxing, because I'm having a silent freak out with the weather at the minute.
Right. But right. So
to go Bubsy. But it was just like whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. It's like, and
okay.
From there you can create anything, because you're actually creating from a place of divinity, right? And so whenever I'm in that push-pull, that's the first thing I do. And I also go, okay, what am I judging myself? And then I'll do some forgiveness exercises. And here's the thing. If you have to do that 100 times a minute until you really shift, you do it 100 times a minute. It's okay, right? It's, I think so often people go, well, I've worked on that. Well, okay, that might be your big challenge. That's your opportunity to choose wholeness and completeness. That's your opportunity to choose wealth. Everything is internal, and everything starts on the spirit plane before it can even reach, the thought. And everything's already been created by the time you can even speak it. You just need to bring it into this heaviness. And I think it's another reason why soul language comes in such good play, because there are actually soul language energies that, I always say, I only have to focus on what I truly want 51% of the time. I just have to tilt the scale. There's other soul languages that actually have to focus on it like 54%, right? Because of the energy of their soul is much different. And having that knowledge is very powerful. Because when you have your creative divinity, when you have words to it, it allows you to utilize that energy in a much more positive way. And it also allows you to notice, I'm in programming again, or I'm in my great challenge. I was joking around with my boyfriend. I've been cranky for a couple weeks now. And he's like, well, I'm like, I'm cranky. Like, I just got to shift it. And it's not cranky about anything. It's just, this is a bigger opportunity for me to choose consciousness, to choose happiness, right?
Yeah.
To really look at my life and go, it's pretty freaking awesome. Like, let's stay there, I think understanding how your soul operates and your intuitive gifts is really important, because I think a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs also take on a lot of energy that's not theirs. And although they say they're clearing their energy, I'm guilty of this, and I talk about it all the time. Like, I don't clear my energy as much as I could or should, right? And that also it kind of takes from your energetic focus, because then you're like having to carry other people's suitcases as you're trying to create this abundant and wealthy existence and experience.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that, so often we're in that place of worry or doubt. And like you, I kind of feel like sometimes that's the mask. People, when we talk about abundance or wealth or getting results, not getting results, it's about receiving, really, and connecting and receiving and being with everything that is. So that's the clients, the money, the wealth, that's whatever we want to create in our reality. And the reason that we don't have it is, you're saying that forgiveness is that key. I have a lot of people that have guilt, or shame. They're not worthy, they're not good enough, all of that kind of stuff.
Well, guilt is actually a thought. It's not an emotion. So usually what's behind that is the not enough, right? Yeah. Shame is the lowest level of consciousness. You actually need support. If you're in deep shame, the body doesn't even have enough life force. It's actually thinking it's dying. So you actually need support. You actually need new tools and people to move you up the consciousness level scale. And I think, there's the human condition of not enough, and then there's also personal, and I have this crazy belief around the not enough, which is, I think it's a misinterpretation of what soul's saying. I think soul is always saying more. And the human goes, not enough, right? There's this commercial in the States that goes, hefty, wimpy, and those are the voices I hear in my head, right? And it's going, so when I'm in not enough, the first question that I tend to ask myself and my soul is, what do you want more of?
Yeah. Love that. Yeah, as you were talking earlier on about, your thing about, when you're feeling a bit cranky. And I think sometimes that as intuitives and healers, spiritual entrepreneurs, we have kind of an awareness that we're sometimes not even really aware of.
Right.
So it's kind of like we're out there in the future, even though it's all happening now. But, it's like we have this awareness that's extended. And so we sometimes think we're going too slow because we're just getting so much awareness of what's coming.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that we can be having and will be having, but it's not right now.
And beautifully stated, because, as you were talking, it's like, oh, yeah, sometimes I'll experience crankiness or, like agitation where some big situation is happening, in the world, or, a big kind of weather system, or however we want to put it, right? And I'm feeling like the kind of up, like, I'm the dog hearing the fireworks before, the fireworks have even gone off, kind of thing. And I think it's awareness. And it's also about understanding how you use your intuition. What does it look like? You talked about, receiving, which was beautifully said. I always did this exercise with clients for years about, go up to the ocean of, abundance, and, what vessel do you have? And, if you have a teacup, let's enlarge that teacup. And I was doing the exercise one day, and the woman went, I'm the vessel. And I went, oh my God, how did I miss that? You're right. We're the vessel, right? And so it's like, really, and the divine can only provide you what the vessel is willing to receive. And so, if you want to build your wealth conscious, you could just state, I am willing and able to receive more of the goodness of the universe now. And just start to feel what that feels like. I mean, even saying it, I'm like smiling, like, just feel that in your system, and then everything else will follow. I think so often, we look outside of ourselves for the goodness when it's a second way of activation, or tuning into what's naturally within your system, and how powerful you are.
Yeah, love that. And I was just getting a sense of that, the expansiveness of who we truly be, and so often I think that when we're struggling, or we're disconnected, or just out of alignment with our true self, it's because we've gone into that little contraction and kind of forgotten just how amazing we are, and our qualities and what we're capable of. So I love that people can find out more about their gifts, their abilities, through using soul language.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And when you were talking, I was like, we so often, when we go into that tight spot, we move into judgment, and we move into fear, and we move into, oh my God, let's fix it, right? And that doesn't help. I mean, that's not very kind to ourselves. Instead of going, asking what's possible here, what's the opportunity here, and I teach this stuff, and I talk about this stuff, not because I'm the best at it, but because the more I teach it, the more I practice it, the more the expansion, the more the connection, right? I really love to connect. It feels good. And all the other stuff is icing on the cake of it, the experience.
Beautiful. Okay, so tell people, Jennifer, you shared so much value and wisdom, and I'm sure that there'll be other people like me who are curious to find out more. So tell us about your free gift and how people can find out more about their soul language.
Thank you. So here's the thing. I think so often people don't do a sacred practice, a connection practice, and that's really important. And I'm a spiritual renegade, so I'm not going to do it like anyone else does it. And I get bored, and I can kind of really out-trick myself. So a spiritual practice actually has to be designed for you, by you. And so my free gift is taking you through a spiritual practice for you to create, about the different sections, what it could include, what it should include, so you can create a sacred practice that actually works with you, and that's movable, and changeable. Because when we do a continuous sacred practice, you create a stronger foundation. So when a challenge comes up, you just see it as an opportunity rather than a reflection of your essential nature, meaning when a challenge comes up, you don't see it as not enough. You see it as like, oh, here's an opportunity to be more.
Yeah, love that. And I love that idea of creating your own spiritual practice. Beautiful. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. You've shared so much wisdom and so many insights. So if people want to find out more about how they can create their own personalized spiritual practice, do you want to share your URL links people can go to? And we'll have this on the website.
Sure. They can go to Soul Language. Oh, sorry, because I don't ever have it memorized.
Soullanguage.us.
Yeah, that's the main link, but the spiritual practice link.
I've just found it. / sacred practice. So soullanguage.us / sacred practice. And it will be on the website, a special link there so you can connect with Jennifer and you can discover your own sacred practice. How exciting! Because, we make things so complicated, but soul always has a way.
Oh.
And it's always a way that we can never kind of figure it out, right?
Not only that, but, I think people don't communicate with their soul as much as they could because they're afraid of the answer. And if I get an answer I'm not ready for, I'm like, okay, that's Z. How do I get to C? And I just get another answer. And I think that understanding that connection and collaboration with yourself, your soul, and whatever you call your higher power is key.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, my darling. It's been a pleasure to connect with you and have you on the show. And I'm sure that people will enjoy connecting with you and discovering the sacred practice. And so until we speak again, much love and bye for now.
You've been listening to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show. If you've enjoyed the show, subscribe and review our podcast. Sign up to receive your Wealthy Business Goddess resources and join us in the Wealthy Business Goddess community at www.lovekimberley.com/WBG. To find out more about how Kimberley can support you in creating the life and business of your dreams, or to watch the show via video, visit the website at www.kimberleylovell.com.